What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a video about Broken Roads, an upcoming post-apocalyptic CRPG that I last mentioned sometime last year ago as a game I was looking forward to. So I was a little bit surprised when I realized that the demo they had dropped for the game had actually passed me by a little bit, as it released back on June 8th. So if you want to check out anything I show off here, you can do that right away. The demo is available on Steam, and if I remember to do it, I'll drop a link in the description. But as a bit of a CRPG enthusiast, I think this game has a lot going for it, because while it is post-apocalypse, it's set in a post-apocalyptic Australia, which is not a setting that I would say is particularly common for that kind of thing, which makes the culture and things at play much more interesting to me, just because I don't have a ton of exposure to them. That said, Broken Roads is heavy on its narrative side. It is very much so narrative-driven, and while there are things like turn-based combat and alternative solutions to things, etc., the big focus of the gameplay is the narrative as well as its moral compass system. But let's take it one step at a time. When we first fire up the demo, you will have to pick the hired gun origin, but I wanted to mention the origins in general because they will provide you a starting point for your journey. In the demo, we can only play one. However, they have others available that will give you different sets of stats and skills, while also kicking off your journey that is particular to that origin. Then we have a few appearance options that are relatively limited here in the demo, but what's much more interesting is the morality section, because this is determined by your moral compass. As you can see here, we have 4 different parts, each representing a sort of philosophy or worldview. But the sort of golden cone represents your actual worldview, and that can lean towards any of the philosophies or have a decent amount of overlap. And the game uses smaller decisions, known as moral tendencies, to adjust for how wide your worldview is. Are you narrow-minded or broad-minded, as it were? But in addition to this, a wider worldview is also going to give you access to various abilities associated with each individual sort of philosophy. But all of that is reflected by the moral decisions that you'll be making through the game and how you talk and speak to people, with certain options only being available based upon your worldview. That said, as you make choices, pick different options, your worldview can shift. It will move around the compass based on your answers, and to kick it off, the game gives you a small questionnaire that you can answer, which will give you a sort of starting worldview and kind of give you an idea of how everything works. In addition to that, though, we do have a traditional attributes and skill tree system. We don't see a lot of this, but it seems to be a basic attributes and then derivative stats setup that you would probably expect. But then we have the gameplay itself. The narrative side of this is essentially what you would expect. You go around talking to people, you can pick up various side quests for them, and then how you approach those quests, as well as how you talk to people in general, will lead you to options along your moral compass, as well as deciding your relationship with other people. And just to highlight that the game is about moral choices, as soon as we leave the starting area, we come across a pretty rough scene out on the world where a woman is crying over a dead man and a younger man is crying off to the side. And when you get involved, it turns out that this young man shot his father at his father's request because his father had fallen ill and decided he was slowing everyone down. And in the post-apocalypse, that is a bit of a problem. So you can kind of decide what the right thing to do here is and how you choose to approach it. Now, one thing that I like about this system is that it doesn't try to tell you what is good and evil or moral, but rather it lets you figure out that for yourself. It's more just about making choices and having to live with them. And with that in mind, the narrative side of this is already pretty strong. Another thing I really enjoy is that the art style is pretty fresh. I was a big fan of how this game looks. Now, on the other side of this, though, we do have the turn-based combat that I mentioned, and this is a pretty straightforward system that you would expect. It is a movement point system combined with an action point system. Some of this is based off of your stats, which again is limited here in the demo. It is turn-based. You can use a variety of skills or items, and your overall effectiveness is going to come down to your stats as well as what you have equipped, as the inventory screen does see us having a few different armor and clothing options alongside utility things that do come up in combat. And while we don't change much of our actual armor or gear, we do get a lot of consumables to mess around with in this one, and we also get a few different party members to go along with it. But overall, I'm making a video about it because I really enjoyed what I saw. I would say the moral compass is probably the big standout feature that everyone's going to be drawn to. However, even the systems that are, I would say, a little more standard and seen in a variety of places, the game does a very good job. But as this is a narrative-driven game, I think what it's really going to be boiled down to in terms of its overall success will be how good that writing is. And here in the demo, it's pretty solid, but I would be curious to see how the full release goes, where we actually have companions. We can see how all of our choices play out, if there are any far-reaching consequences, as there already seems to be a little bit here. And you combine all of that with a unique setting that I personally don't have a lot of experience with, and you've got a game that I am very much so interested in. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one shakes out, and while I already had my eye on it, I'm actually much more sold on it now that I've played a little bit of this demo. And while we don't have a release date at the moment, when it does release, I will definitely be reviewing this one. All of that said though, that is pretty much everything I've got for you guys today. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.